and boom, we are live.
Okay.
So, Mitali, I've been following you and I've been a fan of your work for been a quite while now.
Okay.
So, I have been watching your videos or reading your writings, and I actually found you in LinkedIn first. Thereafter, I went to your profile. So I saw your profile in Substack and Medium, and I happen to be a big follower of your writing now. In fact, within such a short period of time, I happen to be a fan of your writing. And when I was reading one of your Medium article, it said from coding to content, and I found my content. So how did this massive switch happen, Mitali? Because coding and content, it's like the north and south poles of a magnetic magnets. So it's
Hmm.
such a massive switch. So how did that happen?
Okay. So like those were the early days that the medium, like you have done a lot of stalking, or I would say research.
Of course, when I'm inviting my guest, of course, that's my basic duty, right?
Right, right. So medium I used to write a long, long time back. I guess it would have been in 2018, the starting phase of
Yep, I
2018 maybe.
remember reading somewhere between 17, 18
Yes, yes,
thing.
yes. So I did my bachelor's in computer engineering, completed in 2015, and after that I worked in Capgemini for 2 years. And I knew I was not a computer engineering person, but I didn't know what else I was or what else I would be. So I was. I still remember, like, when 2015 till 17, I was in Pune and sitting in the office cubicle, and I used to search, I used to read a lot of travel blogs. I had reached out to so many. I was into photography as well. I still am into photography, but not professionally. So I used to, and photojournalism was something that I found quite interesting, like telling stories through pictures. So I reached out to a few National Geographic photographers through their Twitter, in mail, and just like I stalked them, and I got a response from one of the fellows, and he said that it's quite difficult to get into this field, Mitali. There is not much money, there is a lot of struggle, and you have to pull a lot of strings, all of those things. So I also tried checking jobs in United Nations because
United Nations,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. I don't know whatever I was thinking at that time, but yeah, like so the picture that I'm giving you is that I checked up a lot of things because I was not coding was not my thing, and I somehow got interest. Like I found it interesting during my training period, 2015 maybe. But then when I was assigned a project, it was a support project, and no offense, but I told the manager, I have a brain. You should exploit the brain. You should exploit my neurons. You should exploit the intelligence that I have. You cannot put me to a project where it requires, just a few, it requires you to follow just a few set steps. And but then didn't happen. And then I was, like I just said, I used to read a lot. I used to watch movies. That's it. After that, so while that was going on, I used to just write randomly, and I used to vent out my, like, I was frustrated. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how I'll be making money because the responsibility of the family was on me. I have a younger brother, his education was on me, and all of those things. So I just showed a piece I had written out of frustration to this colleague of mine, Hafiz, and he loved it. And we used to discuss a lot of movies and a lot of songs, and so he told me to write more. He told me to click more, and like click more pictures, write more, write every day, and just out of like it was nothing serious at that time. This was
And
2016, I think.
when was this? Back in
2016. 16.
2016. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So after that, just a random, just few random notes in my phone ka note here and there. That's it. That's all the writing that I did. Then I left the job because of my health. 2017, I was diagnosed with endometriosis. उसके बाद I had to, like, I left my job because they were not being able to transfer me to Gandhinagar, which was nearer to my home, that my medication was going on, treatment was going on, all of those things. I left the job. I didn't have a backup. I sat home for a month. Okay. And in the meantime, there was this digital marketing company, Nagar, based out of my hometown itself. And I used to follow the co-founder through photography. So as I told you that I used to do a lot of photography at that point of time. And I was not active on social mediums, like none of the media, like Facebook. I don't remember using it much. Instagram, I just used to browse photographs for inspiration. Then I started clicking and uploading on Instagram. Okay, this was 2017, and that's when I got in contact with the co-founder. I texted him to let him know, because my hometown is a very small town, tier three city in Gujarat. So I congratulated him on that hey, you are doing a good job, and it's so good to see such initiatives in our hometown, all of those things. And then I wanted to know as to what all things they are doing, and so it was then that he told me that we have a vacancy for content writing. And I said, okay, I write captions. I didn't know what content writing was. Okay. So he said, okay, show me your work. And I sent him one of the this thing that I written, like one of the captions that I had written. There would be a lot of grammatical mistakes, and I don't even know if the structure would have been correct or not. But yeah, it was something that I felt and I had written, and I had just posted it. So he liked it, and then he called me in for a talk. Nothing of an interview sort, because even they were starting out. Like, they started out in March, and I joined the company in around October. So they were also new, I was also new, and it was an experiment for both ends. And I just joined part time because of my health again. And I used to write captions for pizza clients, for real estate, for jewelry. Okay. So an assortment of clients, and gradually I took the initiative, because it was like it was digital marketing plus a social community of the city. So we used to do a lot of campaigns, events, and a lot of different activities. Okay, and we had to go for shoots at the client location. So I've done everything, like from hiring stuff, like doing interviews, to doing the PR activity, like calling in the movie stars and theaters, organizing events, wherein open mic events, connecting with artists, shooting, interviewing the commissioner, the collector of the city, all of those things, apart from writing and managing the social media. So because I took the initiative over there, that's how the content part, the opening up of the personality part happened. And this was 2017 ka end. After that, like by the beginning of 2018, I stumbled upon LinkedIn. Okay,
Yeah.
that's when the freelancing part happened. So uh, I just initially I didn't know what to make out of LinkedIn. I used to just scroll and see. I used to observe other writers, other people who are posting, and seeing their headline. So I then accordingly I used to make changes in my own profile. As per what I feel about myself, like not randomly or not what others are doing, not that way, but experimenting with my own profile. And so I'm not. Uh, I don't consider myself a technical person, but I'm more of a free hand type of person. I think free spirit, free hand. I don't know.
I feel
So
you are a person who'd like to touch upon everything. Basically, you want to explore everything. So that
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
my view on you.
yeah. I just flow. That's it. I flow.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that's when I came in contact with very good writers, like Abhijit Kumar is there. There's Binati Seth. Um, Others, the earlier ones who are not active, yeah, who are not much active right now, like Ashi, I met through these platforms, and I'm very good friends with Abhijit right now. So I used to observe what they are doing, and I used to comment on their post, like genuinely comment, not what people do these days for the marketing gimmicks, not those sort of things. It used to feel real, like, and even in DM, and then coming on to WhatsApp, and then talks, like phone calls. We are sending each other gifts now when the birthdays come. So those kind of relations I've made through LinkedIn, and so that's I got my first project through LinkedIn. It would have been through one of my posts only. I used to post random stuff. Okay, whatever I'm
I love your posts. I
thinking,
love your posts.
whatever I'm experiencing, I used to just, that's it. No thought process, no filtering, nothing, no strategy. So I used to, it was writing news articles, rewriting news articles rather, and it was 22 paisa per word. Okay. And and I used to sit for hours just to make money कि भाई इतना करना है because I had to pay my brother का college का fees and घर का जो भी खर्च रहता है and all of those things, my medical bills and all of those things. So I used to sit 9 to 12, I remember, like morning till night, like in those days, earlier days. And फिर धीरे धीरे करके I've not taken any course, like no content writing course. हाँ बीच में जब सब ले रहे थे वो क्या बोलते हैं, HubSpot का marketing certification. But so, but to be honest, what I did, I just that used to play in there, and I like the quizzes that come. Okay, so I like to score well. So I just used to listen, and okay, इसमें ये answer है, इसमें ये answer आता है, and I used to fill that, and that's it. So I've not taken any course. I learned through experiencing, through experimenting. So that's how content writing, copywriting, all of those things happen.
But Mitali, you see, maybe I want to know like what makes people think uniquely in content writing. See, everybody, content writing is not everybody's cup of tea. Maybe
It's not.
from an amateur or the just learner, they can explore. But I want to understand from a professional's point of view, like what makes them think uniquely.
Okay. So I stopped content writing in 2020, some part of 2010, like mid part of 2020. And post that, I've been totally into copywriting and scripts. Okay. So now I only provide copywriting and scripting services. Back then, or overall, what has helped me is reading a lot. Like ever since a kid, I used to read a lot of fictions I've read, mostly fictions, and then non-fiction entered sometime in 2019, like later part of 2019. That's for one. The second thing is observing, just observing. Like I would be like, if you take me out, I wouldn't be on my phone. I just keep looking here and there, and observing the hoardings, and how people react in traffic, um, how kids are sitting in traffic, or the conversations when I'm on train, in bus. I would actually overhear people. Okay, there are times when I listen to music, or I would read a book, but then there are times as well when I would listen to people, and drop in
With your
conversation.
earphones on.
No, not the earphones on. Not the earphones on. I just listen to people. That's it. So and I'm a nature loving person. So there is a lot that you learn from nature as well, by being in nature as well. So
Absolutely.
these all things, I believe that these things gave me a voice, or perspective, I would say. And at least the copywriting part of that is due to this. The storytelling part of me is because of my reading, my observation, interaction with people so far.
And Mitali, one best thing I can say about your writing is you keep your writing simple. You use no jargons. So how did you cultivate that? Because I've seen many of the great writers, they use jargon, and
Hmm.
when a person who's off the topic reads that, like that word or that para, like he might ask him to switch off from the track. But it doesn't happen in your case. Like how do you keep your writings like so clean and so simple?
So mostly what I write is, I think I write like the thoughts that are coming, the feelings that I'm feeling. I just write it. So it's my way of writing is more like journaling. Okay, it's not that I write for someone. I'm just writing to let out myself, let out whatever I'm feeling, the good, the bad, the ugly, all the emotions. I think that might be the reason that it could be jargon free. At least when I write for myself, or when I'm writing on Substack or social media. When it comes to
Exactly.
writing for the clients, it totally depends on the requirements, of course. Like what kind of, but usually keeping it simple uh, works, because most of the people, they won't like to say Google a word, or Google a phrase that you have written.
And do you have any dedicated time meant for writing only? Any
No,
such schedules? No.
I'm a
You
very
write whenever you
spontaneous.
want.
I'm a very spontaneous person. I'm a very impulsive person, and I write like it. Mostly, whatever I've written so far is mostly a spur of a moment kind of thing. And to build consistency, my Substack, this flaky dispatch that I used to do, I've stopped it since the time because of my like after my operation, specifically. I'm going to resume it soon. So every Friday, like to build consistency, I had created the Substack account, and I used to write every Friday. But that what kind of dispatch would be written, that totally dependent on the mood when I sit down for writing. If say I'm writing in the morning, I'll be in a whole different mood, and the writing would flow that way. If say it's night and I'm writing, and the mood will flow that way. And I would usually play a musical 1 hour to 1.5 hour playlist in the background on YouTube. Okay, and with titles like so that there are there are so many YouTube channels that have curated playlists known as Dark Academia, for example. Then there is Let Me Tell You a Song, Let Me Play You a Song. So channels like these. And the titles of the playlist would be You Are the Protagonist of the Classical Era. So this is a title. Another title would be You Fell in Love with Someone You Cannot Have. Okay, so these are the titles of those playlists. Those playlists play in the background, and I'm just writing whatever is flowing. And so yeah, it's mostly the zone that I'm in. It's spontaneous.
But Mitali, see, I'm a type of person like when I'm penning down something or when I'm writing something, and parallelly, if I'm thinking about something, I cannot listen to a music. You're
Hmm.
getting it right. Like if I'm scribbling something or if I'm parallelly crossing my thoughts and penning it down,
Hmm, hmm, hmm,
I cannot listen to music. But
hmm,
if I have structured it, if I've framed it, and after that, if I'm giving it, what do I call? A structure, a proper structure,
hmm,
then I can
hmm.
listen to your music. So you can parallelly listen to a music, you can cross your thoughts and you can pen it down. Is it? You can do three
Yeah,
things in
yeah,
parallel.
yeah, yeah.
Wow,
Yes,
that's great.
but
That's
it's
great.
mostly the musical, that the instrumental part that is, uh, that stimulates, and not the lyrical part, I would say. The music
Exactly.
would be because see, you cannot pay attention to the lyrics, like what the words mean, and while you're writing. Okay, if you're familiar with the song, then that would be all right. Okay, if I've listened to the song n number of times, then it would happen like a muscle memory.
Yep.
Okay, so in those cases you wouldn't have to think a lot, or say. So mostly I feel it's a free flow.
Okay. So many of the folks don't know that Mitali has masters in clinical psychology. So Mitali, how is clinical psychology helping you understand the folks around you?
I'll tell you a very clear picture. It was 2000, like again, that time I was figuring out what I want to do, 2016. um, i I have been a person with whom people have found comfort. Okay, I don't know how that happened, but so many people, many strangers used to text me, used to feel comfortable with me, and I've made friends in like a bus ride, okay, or just while sitting in, say, a hostel in Jodhpur. This is how I've made friends, and they've shared many intimate parts of their life with me. I don't know how that happened. Maybe it's the vibe that I would be giving out, but that made me when there were a few people to whom I was, helping figuring out the times of their life, and they felt that something is wrong with them, something like depression or anxiety, and I used to suggest a few activities they could do, or suggest a few ways they can work it out, write it out. So that's when I wanted to do psychology, to understand human behavior in 2016. But then after, like, this was 2018 or 19, I'm talking about, like 2017, 18, yeah, when this chatting thing happened through social media. And I thought, why not help professionally? Why not help better? So I searched courses, but because I didn't have a background in psychology, neither a BA or 10th, 11th, 12th, I didn't have psychology as a subject. So I was not eligible anywhere. But thankfully, COVID happened. And thankfully, the university in which I did my master's happened. So it's a very new university. And I expressed my willingness and my interest and, my intention as well as to what I want to do with this. So that's how I talked with the HOD of the department, and she said, "Okay, let's give it a shot." So I was along with another dentist. We were the only two students who didn't have a psychology background. So the first sem went good. Okay, the classical conditioning part, the
So I'm
operational
sorry to
part.
interrupt. So you guys were exceptional cases, is that? So
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
and the
We were,
doctor.
yeah. So the doctor still had the doctor ka background. I
Yep.
was an engineer. Okay,
Yeah, from
no
coding.
background whatsoever. But I had read Malcolm Gladwell. I had read *Sapiens*, and all of those books actually helped me to. I had read *Freakonomics* and *Super Freakonomics* by Stephen. So there were a lot of psychological studies in those books, which helped me to uh, understand the methods that I used, the bit technical parts of that. Those, but what actually played the major role would be my empathy, okay? And the books and the movies and the series. So the answers that I wrote, I've mentioned Sheldon, I've mentioned Mindhunter, I've mentioned a few books that I've read, which have characters having prosopagnosis, and so many other conditions, like the Rosie Project, Pura Spectrum aata hai. So all of these things, and the teachers actually love those answers. So only the first sem, I bit learned. I learned a bit of technical things, but other than that, due to COVID, due to the overall situation that was there, the second wave was especially very terrific. So the technical learning that I actually looked forward to, didn't happen. So the therapies or what I understand people right now is totally based on my reading, my empathy, and my observation of people. But I'm hoping
So
to get proper, still do one more diploma course or some way of further education that will help me to figure this thing out much more.
exactly. I remember I was interacting with one of the Twitter profiles, Mitali, and I'm more into psychology also.
Hmm.
And he
Okay.
was suggesting me that he passed on his statement saying that if you read Carl Jung, I'm not
Hmm.
sure whether Carl
Hmm.
Jung.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
he was like, if you read the books of Carl Jung, it is equivalent to completing 2 years of masters in psychology.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Hmm.
connecting that, do you have any suggestions for book recommendation or the authors who people look up to psychology can refer to?
So mostly there is a segment, there is a major segment which equates psychology to Freud. You might have heard of Freud, Sigmund Freud. Okay.
Yep.
So
So
and
you, in fact,
Carl,
he Sigmund Freud happens to be the master of Carl Jung, I suppose.
yeah. So
Yeah, right.
Carl is his student, and
Student.
majority of
Yeah.
work of Carl is inspired by the works of Freud.
Yep.
So I just recently started reading Interpretation of Dreams, because I used to have, not now, but earlier, I used to have very bizarre dreams, Like you can actually make an animation movie out of my dreams. Okay. And so there are jellyfish shaped space shuttles which are,
Uh-huh.
descending on the top of my terrace. And that there is a bird which is entirely transparent, but it gains the color of the rainbow uh, when light falls upon it. Okay. So all these are the elements of my dreams. I don't know where they are coming from. So I was very interested to know about it, and that's when I came to, like, that's when I found this book, The Interpretation of Dream by
And
Freud.
I hope that you slept sober that day.
I did. I did. I'm
Just
not.
kidding.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. so, yeah, that there's a fluid that people can start with. Then there's Carl. Um, so this school of thought is mostly into psychoanalysis. Okay, like analyzing people's behavior, analyzing how they react to situation. Most of Freud's work is, you know, has a lot of has a lot to do with the childhood, our childhood, because he was a believer that whatever we do, a majority of that has its roots in our childhood traumas. Okay,
Exactly.
and I feel that it's true because observing myself, most of my patterns, most of my reactions is because of my childhood, like how I dealt with things at that point of time. The coping mechanisms I would have developed at that point of time are still continuing. So, uh, yeah, Freud is someone people can start with, and then depending on how they want to, take it further, they can explore the rest.
Thank you. And Mitali, see, since we're talking about psychology, people say that persuasion is the biggest weapon in the arsenal of psychology. So,
I'm sorry, I didn't get
how
the
is
starting part.
persuasion?
Okay.
Persuasion is the biggest
Hmm.
weapon in the
Hmm.
arsenal of
Hmm.
psychology. So,
Hmm.
how important is the art of persuasion in the current time?
Oh my God.
Because it's only persuasion what can help us reach what we want, irrespective of the domain or irrespective of the genre.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
So, what do you think about the importance of art of persuasion?
This question is so opposite to how I live. Uh,
Maybe your point of view.
uh, so I'm mostly, in my case, it's like think, dream, and this is what I've started believing recently. Leave it up to the universe, and it will spin the dice accordingly, and I'll tell you an example. Um, One of my clients, she gave a good review and publicly about me, and only I knew that she wrote. I and me knew that she wrote about me. No one else would know because of the confidentiality that we have. And the same day, I was checking my. If you are aware of the Pocket app, there's an app called Pocket in which you can save
I'm not. I'm
articles.
not. Maybe I'll explore that.
Okay, okay. So there's this app in which you can save your articles for reading some other time. It's like bookmarking that we have in our web browsers. So that's the same day I somehow, I don't know why, but I checked it, and I had to see this by personality type ka kuch to. There are 12 the personality types that we have. There are so many tests that anyone can take and know the type of personality they are, to know what all work they can do, the compatibility of the partner, all of those things. So I was just checking it and to read a particular thing, and I found that I had saved articles like clinical psychology in India, scope of doing psychology in India, okay, how to pursue, uh, how to be a therapist in India, ye sab kuch. And this happened on the same day, and that would have been somewhere in 2016. So I sat and I wondered, just look at this, 2016, 2023. I'm already giving give, giving therapies. So uh, I don't know how this works. Mm, and not just this, like this is a very simple example of something that happened. There are other things as well. So another thing that I want to do is bartending. Okay, and I want to learn the art of mixing drinks and serving them. And a major reason of that is, to people are at their most vulnerable position when they are drunk. Okay, and they have a lot of stories. They have a lot of things to say. So it happened to be that you know that urge to be a bartender happened to come out of that, to listen to stories. So I might go to Canada in a few months, and I've
Hmm.
decided that I'll learn. I'll take a basic something like I'll try it on the go only. If it happens, that would be the best scenario. But if it doesn't, I would try to take some course and then do it. So yeah, like just thinking once, leaving it somewhere, like throwing it to the universe or to the cosmos, and cosmos. What am I doing? And it's working out. I don't know how, but it's working out. Maybe it's about the intentions that you know, the pure intentions at play. I think.
Exactly, exactly. I couldn't agree more.
I
So,
think you might
Mitali,
not be getting the answers that you want. I feel that way.
no, maybe see, it's that's why I put the word perspective. I just wanted to understand from your perspective.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
differs from person to person, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So, Vitali, since you're stressing upon empathy always,
yeah. Hmm.
so is empathy directly proportional to mental health? So, is how we treat people, or is how we uh, listen to them, or how we respond to them, is it directly proportional to their mental health?
Empathy is, again, I would say perspective. So for different people, it would be very different, and we think that a lot of things are we can change a lot of things, but that's not necessary. That's not always true. uh, a major part of us is our hormones, our biochemicals, chemicals run in our body. Okay, so there are some people who are wired in ways that limits their understanding of other people. Okay, so take for example autism. People who fall in the autism spectrum, they are not comfortable socially. Like we all have seen the character Sheldon from Big Bang Theory. We know how
Yep.
the peculiarities that character had. So there are people who live that life, who actually live that life. Okay, so it's not the emotions. It's not that they want to be that way. It's how the chemicals in their body are. It's how the chemicals in their brain are. Okay, so I wouldn't be like I wouldn't say that empathy would be directly proportional to mental health, but yeah, uh, having empathy can help you build great connections. Okay, long lasting connections can actually help you understand people who have different perspective than you, understand people who have lived different life than yours, understand people of any ethnicity, any race, uh, any gender, anywhere. Okay, and not just people, I would say. My empathy extends to animals, insects, even plants. Okay, like everything that has life, and even things that don't have life. There are times when I communicate with my laptop as well. This sounds foolish, but yeah, I do that. So because it's a part of my life. Okay, it's a part of my life. It's what gives me my bread and butter. So there are times when I thank the laptop as well, and there are times when the charger is not working properly, and I'm adjusting the charger, and I would say, please, chal ja mere bhai. So um, so here, understanding people, having empathy, in a way that it doesn't hamper your own emotions, like through limiting boundaries, is a good way to you know to experience things, to have connections people. And it might also help in creativity, like a majority of my writing feels relatable because of this empathy part. Okay,
Exactly.
so it helps with creativity. So if say we are going into the technical point of this, we can say that it might help copywriters write better copies, because if they're empathetic, they can actually put themselves in the shoes of the people who are going to use the products, and they can come up with some taglines, or say some some CTAs that can convert the copies.
Exactly. What I feel is in the corporate world right now, people are not empathetic. If a person's performance is going down, nobody is even bothered to ask him, like, what is going wrong. People are only concerned about the result, and nobody is concerned about what is going wrong in his life. Like, nobody is free enough to try to explore things from his shoes. So that is what I feel.
Hmm.
Everybody is concerned about the results, and nobody is concerned about what a person is ongoing. Maybe he has lost his loved one, maybe his mother might be sick, maybe he might be in the stage of divorce. So nobody is interested in knowing that. So what do you think about that?
I no longer have, uh, contact with the corporate world. But yeah, if it's not just the corporates that are functioning this way, it's life in general has become this way. Um, but see, every one of us is fighting our own battles. Okay, so no
Exactly.
one is to blame here. If say you're going to office tomorrow and something as you had a fight with your mom in the morning, your manager in the same way would have had a fight with his wife, or say would have had a kid of his messing up his score, for example. So and it's, although we tell that keep your professional and personal life separate, it's not always possible, right? It's not always possible.
Exactly.
We are not stoics. We have not mastered the art of being a stoic. So our personal lives are going to affect the way we work. But one thing that I find good these days is that the initiatives that companies are giving, especially startups, are having this therapy sessions, free therapy sessions that their employees can have every month. So we used to have medical. So people like corporates still have medical, but this is an added advantage, employee advantage that they have added to this. Other thing I feel is that, you know, be it so like tell it social media or tell it the byproduct of the internet era, we have lost genuineness. We have lost the the idea of being vulnerable. Like everyone wants to portray themselves as,
Couldn't agree more.
yeah, they are doing something, they are doing this, they are doing that. And even in their vulnerability, when they are being vulnerable, even in that, they are trying to portray that, they are trying to portray themselves as heroes, probably. And uh, so I feel that that has resulted in somehow, I would say, losing the humanness. If we are losing humanness, we are losing touch with our emotions. Just yesterday, I was saying, like, I was visiting a friend, and we were eating ice cream and also watching Akash Gupta ka Sarojini Nagarwala, that stand-up brother belt, that one. So, so I said that, see, we don't even taste our food because we are on our phones, or we might be watching Tarak Mehta or Friends in Loop, okay, on our TV, or some might be watching reels. So devices, the digital devices, this social media, internet, they have made us lose connection with our senses. At least that's what I feel when I look at people, okay, aimlessly or mindlessly just scrolling through stories and posts on social media. What's the first thing that people do when they go to a restaurant? They'll just check for good
I'm
places
sorry,
to
Mitali,
eat.
I'm cutting you short. Uh, I'm not sure whether you know this. There's a Harvard study that says every individual minimum time spent on his phone is 9 hours.
Oh my god,
So 9 hours of his daytime.
out of 24 hours.
Exactly. And the rest, like 8 to 9 hours, will be on our bed. And the rest 8 to 9 hours, I don't know what we'll be doing. So one third of our life is gone on. It's like we are
Done.
dedicated to our phones.
Yeah, yeah. So, and the comparison that happens due to social media, um, because everyone portrays. I don't know if that happens. Like everyone wants to be famous. Social media has made it easier for people to become say famous. Okay, or at least think that they can become famous. So everyone wants to portray a good picture of life, and Maybe due to that, the feeling of missing out, the feeling of comparing their life with other people, and not appreciating what they already have. All of these things, all of these emotions or feelings have amplified over the years.
Exactly. So, Mitali, coming to mental health. So, Plato
Hmm.
has a great saying, say, be kind for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. So, be kind for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. So, what is the importance of being kind to others? Because you had a very good saying that you like to be kind for all the living and non-living beings. And I loved that statement from you. But what is
Hmm.
the importance of being kind to people?
See, it's not that I've not been hurt. I've I've been hurt a lot ever since childhood. So, but I think that powers my kindness even more, because I haven't had what I needed. I'll be the one to give it. You know, I'll be the one to give it in stocks, maybe. So
It's like there's a saying that the most unkind, like we need to be kind to the most unkind people because they deserve it the most.
exactly, exactly. And you don't know. Actually, you don't know why they are unkind in the first place. It might be that they would have had, they wouldn't be that way earlier. Something would have happened, and that's why they are that way. So I used this statement a few days back while I was talking to a friend, that I don't have it in me to judge anyone right now. Like judge anyone, even if you say that this person has committed a crime, I wouldn't judge that person to be bad, because we don't know the first thing about why he or she would have committed the crime. Okay,
Yep.
so um, kindness is a weapon actually. We can also
It
consider
is.
it as a weapon, and although so it's a good weapon, I would say. It's a weapon to let other weapons fall down. Okay, so to unguard, it's a weapon to unguard people, and that's how I think I make connections. So I used to have this.
So
I had this pinned on my wall. Last year I was going through a rough patch last year, and I had this pinned to my wall, like this sticky notes, that no matter how hurt I am, I'll never give up my kindness.
I love that statement. So, Mitali, now since we are talking about mental health, I remember watching one of the videos of Jordan Peterson. I guess you have heard about Jordan Peterson. So, Jordan Peterson also happens to be a clinical psychologist,
Okay.
and he was in a convocation program in Liberty College,
Okay.
and there during the convocation program, one student, he came up to him and he cried on the stage. He was seeking for help. So that made me break actually, because like there were thousands of students and it was a convocation program, and he came up to him and he broke down. He was asking for help. So, you being a clinical psychologist, do you have any stories where people came up to you and their stories that made you break down and you helped them in the best possible way? Do you have any such stories?
So last year, Feb, I was doing my internship with a psychiatrist in Junagadh, my hometown, and there was a he recommended a person to me, and the person, of course, checked me out everywhere, because they cannot right away, say come and connect without knowing about me, without how they are going to, like, whether or not they want to talk with me or not.
Makes sense.
So the person took some time getting in touch with me. The first conversation we had was on phone call. The second conversation was a face to face, and I dreaded that. So I don't have a vehicle, I don't have a vehicle so far. I drive bicycle, and I traveled almost 10 kilometers to reach the person's place, to meet. And throughout this journey, I was nervous because I am the type of person who would start crying when I listen to someone's suffering. And from what we have heard of psychologists, you are supposed to keep a straight face, a focused face. You are not supposed to react. You are not supposed to show anything on your face. Okay. Usually sessions are of 1 hour. That meeting lasted for almost 2.5 to 3 hours. Both of us cried, looking at the person, letting down the guards and talking about their experience. I felt what the person might have felt at that point of time. Okay. The empathy into the picture. I started crying. The person cried. And after a few sessions, the person told me that you know this is the type of psychologist that the person was looking for, and not someone who would just keep a poker face. Okay, I believe it's very much important to to even share your experiences to the limit that makes the other person feel comfortable in sharing theirs. And actually that's how I've been able to provide comfort so far. I think people who are hardcore clinical psychologists would shun me for this, would be giving me a lot of galis on this probably कि ये क्या बोल रही है इसको कुछ पता नहीं है. But yeah, this is my method. So
So it's a high time everyone understand that mental health is also a health.
but it's good people are understanding, people
Exactly.
actually
I
are
guess
understanding.
COVID made us realize it more, I suppose.
It did. So that's a good shift that we have. uh, but at the same time I also wish that more people wouldn't find the need to go to a therapist.
Yep. I too pray for that.
Yeah. I hope their life is enough fulfilled or blessed.
Exactly. So Mitali, this Buddha had he has a great quote saying that uh, pain is inevitable and suffering is optional. So what do you think about that? How do we digest the pain as it is and refrain ourselves from suffering?
So I read something on these lines a few, like 2 months back, I guess. It was in the book, Maybe You Should Talk to Someone. And after I read half of the book, I got to know that it's written by a therapist who is also a writer. So in that, she had written that pain is when you feel when something happens to you right away and what you feel. Okay. So, for example, if say I had a breakup and the heartbreak that I'm going through, that would be my pain in the very immediate moment, in the few months that follow. But it's up to me to see if that pain is turning into my suffering or not. Like, is it making me suffer? Is it making me suffer again and again and again, and to a stretch of say 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, lifetime? Okay. So I would say that pain is something that we can say pain can be something tangible, a tangible result of something that happens to us, something bad, sad happens to us, and suffering is what we do to ourselves once the pain is experienced. And
Exactly.
suffering is avoidable. It is avoidable.
Very much.
But we tend at the same time we tend to stay in the inertia of the suffering, and it takes herculean efforts to get out of it. And even I am as much guilty of that as any other person would be.
Me too. So Mitali, I was reading one of your articles about therapy for mental health. So do you
Hmm.
have any quick therapy that can be shared here?
Experience. So this is the one thing that I tell people to do. If you have a balcony, if you have a window, throughout your day, take out 5 to 10 minutes when you're just standing there, observing your life. Observing your life as in observing everything in your surrounding. Let your thoughts go by. Don't do anything. Keep your phone aside. And this can be also something that you can do, like if you don't have a balcony or a window or a good, the view doesn't matter. You're just supposed to stand and look. That's it. Do this for 5 to 10 minutes every single day. You're not supposed to judge your thoughts, not supposed to react to your thoughts. Just see, like from here, from my window, I can see buildings, a lot of buildings. Okay. So what I do is I would stand, I would see the terraces of the building. I would see the balconies of other people's building. I would see the activities that go on. Like there is a dadima who would, water her plants, and there is another house where someone is doing the vessels. Okay, someone is hanging the clothes. All of these things. I would just notice. I would notice things. That's it. So this is one thing that really helps calm me. It has also helped other people I've suggested to calm them in those moments of overwhelming emotions that they feel. Yeah.
I'll try this. I'll try
Yeah.
this out
Sure.
for sure.
Okay.
So, Mitali, coming to storytelling, maybe your core thing.
Hmm.
So, how to tell a story that even a person way off the topic will get hooked to us? What is your tip or hack that can be shared? How do you even develop the art of storytelling?
So I'm a better storyteller when it comes to writing, but I'm not a storyteller when it comes to speaking or narrating. Okay. And my that and the same thing happens when I have to convey something. I can convey my feelings, my thoughts better when I write, and not when I speak. Things don't come as structured as they should have been. When I speak, that's the gap that I feel. That might be, I don't know why that happens. I haven't analyzed that part, but
No, because I know many of the authors, I'm sorry to cut you short, but I know
hmm,
many of the authors, when they write, it will be like gold standard. But like as you said, they don't know how
hmm,
to
hmm,
convey it to the audience. But
hmm,
in
hmm,
other case, people like Simon Sinek and
hmm, hmm,
Steve Jobs,
hmm.
when they are at stage, like they put it on fire, like nobody can
Yes,
touch them,
yes,
especially
yes, yes,
Steve Jobs and Simon
yes.
Sinek. It's like it's in their blood.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
guess it differs from person to person.
It differs from person to person. So some are good, some are not good in articulating, but they might be very good when narrating. I have a friend, like
Exactly.
my roommate is very good in narrating stories, and you would be captivated when he would just start out. But he is not as good as at writing, and in my case, it's the opposite. Okay, so it differs from person to person. So if say, so I would be able to talk about the written storytelling only. In my case, so again the free flow comes into the picture here, be it fiction, be it any form of expression, be it an article. I just start out with a a thought thread, and and the words keep flowing, the words keep coming. And editing is something that I hate doing. Okay, I literally hate doing. I've not read my Substack dispatches, except for the times when I want to share it on other social, like on say Instagram or LinkedIn. At that time I would have just shuffled through a few and picked up from random paragraphs. That's it. Otherwise I don't read, I just write and just publish, and I don't reread it. So I don't know how to answer this question. So as I said, that most of the answers in my case would be flow, because the flow that is coming would be doing it. So the
But
thing is, I've read a lot. I've read a lot. I've read so many. I've seen so many movies. I've listened to so many songs, and observation. I've talked and listened to so many people that it helps me build characters. It helps me build scenarios, and com- combining empathy with that gives me the relativity factor. People can relate to it. Oh, this is me writing, or this is me feeling. Okay, so I think that that would be the ingredients that help me be to be a return storyteller.
So, they say that storytelling can make us the future. Do you really think so?
Storytelling can make, sorry,
Storytelling can make us a future.
it can. Look at the advertising that happens these days. Look at the hoarding campaigns that these big cities are having these days. Pick up anything that you would find on digital platforms, and it has a story to tell. Take our epics, Mahabharat, Ramayana. All these, like, we have learned through stories when there was no scriptures, when there was no, say, education. What was passed on to us by our ancestors was stories, and story makes us learn things. It makes us remember things because it can make anything interesting. Okay, so when you put something as a story, it makes it easier for the rest to consume, to comprehend, and I would say to even react to it. So,
And you're mentioning that you were too much into books in your childhood or when you're growing up.
hmm, hmm,
So,
hmm,
do you have any recommendation as far as crime thrillers are concerned, or the
hmm.
best storytelling books that you have come across?
Okay. Uh, the one book that I recommend to anyone who loves fiction and to anyone uh, who wants to read fiction after they have explored enough, say, non-fiction, is Anxious People by Frederick Backman. He's a Swedish writer. So this work is translated into English, and I loved his other books as well. I first finished this one. It has a very unique way of storytelling, and you would be confused in the beginning. You might be confused in the beginning as to where the story is going, what is the author trying to do, how am I supposed to understand what is happening in the story. But then the way he has a neck to connect people in his stories, and there would be a lot of people involved, and there would be a lot of stories going on simultaneously in each person's life. So there would be a protagonist, but there would be supporting characters as well, whose stories are as interesting as the protagonist. Okay, so Anxious People is on adulting, the struggles that we face during adulting, while we are adulting, while we are figuring this whole adulting part out. And it's a must read if you know you are going through anything, good or bad, I would say.
Since you already touched upon the book Sapiens, I haven't read that, my bad.
Hmm, hmm.
One of my friends, he was telling me the other day that that happens to be one of the best books as far as storytelling is concerned, because
Oh yes,
Harari, it's like nailed it in that book.
Harari is a historian, but
Yep.
he has the neck to build stories, and the way he ends each chapter and drifts you to the next one is so beautiful. And that book actually shifted the gears in my life and brought me somewhere from the emotional, like entirely emotional spectrum, to somewhat rational spectrum. Okay, I'm not still a rational person. I am way into my decision making mostly happens due to emotions, spur of the moment, spontaneity. But yeah, like I read Sapiens, and I read Homo sapiens, and then I read Homo Deus, and then I read 21 Lessons of the 21st Century. All three by Yuval, and in the sequence that he has built it. It made me question existence like anything. I was shit scared after reading it. I've written a lot on existentialism after reading that book, and I've questioned a lot of things. But at the same time, now it makes me feel that it was good that I read that. I can now like the impact. It's not the in just this direction that nothing is going to matter. Why do things? I was actually in that zone, but I'm not in that zone anymore now.
Mitali, once again, coming back to your writing habits. So, how
Huh.
did you cultivate this discipline of writing every day? Because, see, again, I'm, as far as LinkedIn is concerned, I'm like the greatest admirer of your post. Like, whenever LinkedIn in my feed, Mitali's post come up, I'm like the first one to read that. So, how did you cultivate this writing habit? And, like, I'm more interested in the discipline part.
I'm not a disciplined person. I'm a mess. I'm not consistent with what I do. I mentioned that to you, when I said that. So the purpose behind starting the dispatch on Substack, the newsletter on Substack, was to get consistent with something, at least one thing in my life. I used to be a very disciplined kid, but my adolescent or post-adolescent, like 21 onwards till now, I am a reckless mess, I would say. So everything depends on mood. Like I said, my creation, my process of creation, my work, everything depends on mood. Work I do based on deadlines. I'm telling this publicly. If my clients listen to this, they would be horrified. But even they know that like I'm powered by deadlines. Like I'm the most creative when I have to face a deadline. And but I didn't
And
want to
you had
do
also
that.
written an article on deadlines, right?
I have. I think I've
Yeah,
written
I
something
remember
on
reading that.
LinkedIn. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes.
But I wanted to be consistent. So I started my flaky dispatches on Substack last year, and it was going very good till December, till the time my health, took a whole different turn. I'd only missed two dispatches. I even remember writing without my specs. Like I had gone to this waterfall and I lost my spectacles in the waterfall. So
Oh,
I couldn't see anything. Okay, and this would I this is how I wrote this close to the screen. But I did send out the dispatch that day as well, and I'm proud of myself for that.
yeah, of
So
course. We are too.
so I wouldn't say that I'm consistent. I wouldn't say that I'm disciplined, but yeah, I'm learning to be. I'm cultivating the habit to be disciplined, to be consistent, because from what I've seen and from what I've read, no matter how talented you are, no matter how creative you can be, but there would be time when consistency would matter more than creativity. I wasn't of that opinion earlier, and I am still struggling to be of this opinion. But I think that gradually this would help me in developing some form of discipline.
So, Mitali, you just mentioned that whenever you go for a trip or whenever you wander, so you always listen to people, or you observe nature, or you observe things. So, when you're doing that, at the back of your mind, do you have any plans? Like, do you build any plans? Okay, I'll be writing something on this, or I'll be something
Yeah,
writing on this experience.
yeah, yeah,
You do that,
yeah, yeah.
and
It's very
that's
natural.
and that's how the things flow, right?
That's how the things flow. So it usually the thought threads that I mentioned. Uh, those are the things that come out of these moments that I'm having. These moments of wandering, these moments of observation, these moments of listening. So say for example, I'm listening to so a majority of my writing in 2019 was because of the email conversations that I used to have with two people. Okay, two of my acquaintances at that point of time who are now friends. So they used to ask me questions about how I do certain things, how I take certain decisions, and most of them would have to do with existentialism, um, and that's how the topics, like the topics for some of them some of the writings I used to do at that point of time used to come out of the conversations I had with those people. Okay. Then there was a conversation with a friend in which she said that, why do you have to have a hobby that involves something related to art? And why am I not validated for not having a hobby that is related to art? Basically, that was the crux of the conversation. So that led me to write a post in which I mentioned that, even taking a walk can be a hobby. Okay, it's not necessary that you have to paint, you have to write, you have to sing, you have to dance to call it a hobby. So keep art and hobby as separate things. Then while so mountains and beaches, so many of the scenarios that I have, so the beaches have mostly inspired me to write romantic scenarios, uh, romantic, hopeless as well, and hopeful as well. Of course,
Yeah, he
mountains have
decides.
mountains have inspired me to write individual scenarios in which, uh, the center of the story or the center of the piece would be my own life, my own identity, my own existence. So yeah, this is how it happens. And usually I have the color note app in my phone, and I just write down uh, that I want to write on this. It's not a strategically managed space, but whenever, say, randomly I'm just scrolling through that, I come across something that I would have written 4 to 5 months back, say for example, or 1 year back, and then I remember, oh, something like this would have happened, and I wanted to try it. But sometimes entire pieces would come, entire pieces would come, not just a thought thread, and I would just write it down then and there, and keep it over there. That's it.
Good to know that, Mitali. So, since you stressed a lot upon your reading habit,
Hmm.
so you are a physical book person or like a Kindle or ebook person?
Both.
Oh, you're both. So, which one do you like the most? Oh, wow. So, you're reading something just before this conversation.
No, 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 no. I was trying to read yesterday night, but then I was very tired, so I had to sleep. So most of my life, I had been very tight on resources, financial resources to be precise, and that's why physical book was a luxury I was not able to afford earlier. That got me into the habit of reading on phone. So I used to use torrent. I used to get books from PDF readers and very fishy places, on the internet. And that's how I've read many of my books in college, like from 2011 to 2015, 17 mostly. But then gradually I started, you know, so most of my spending so far is mostly on books and food and travel. I'm not much of a clothes person, or I haven't been much of a clothes person so far. I'm getting into that bit by bit, but not there yet. So Amazon, if you check it, it would be mostly books. So I have this. I had this thing. If it's a fiction, I'm comfortable reading it as an ebook. If it's a non-fiction, I want to read it as a physical copy, because when it's a non-fiction, there are so many things that you need to check up. There are so many references that you want to read. There are so many things that you want to get back to again, for other references, things like that. And for fictions, it's a story. It's a fluid thing. So for me, it used to feel okay to read it as an e-copy. But if I love that book, I'd make sure to buy it as a physical copy.
The other day I was reading one of the books called The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. So, in that book,
Yeah.
there's a great quote that goes like, "We live in the age of Alexandria, where every book or every piece of knowledge ever written down is just a fingertip away. The means of learning is abundant, but it's our desire to learn that is scarce."
Yes.
So, what do you think about the importance of reading in the current age? Because we are absolutely filled with distractions now, and reading is one thing that can calm us down.
Yes,
reading
yes.
has like hell lot of benefits, but one thing, at least I read to keep myself calm. So what do you think
Hmm,
about the importance of reading, at least in
hmm,
the current age?
hmm. So I would like to address two things here. First is, rather than distractions, we have so many options. How many times have you opened Netflix and ended up not watching anything and spent, say, for example, an hour or 45 minutes just on browsing as to what to watch? This is all of
Exactly.
us. Okay. I have a signature collection in my hard disk. I made that when I was in college. Like my brother helped me make it, and then I added some films on my own. I used to torrent a lot, and it was a luxury finding the right 1080 Blu-ray print at that point of time. Even now, I treasure that collection. Okay, because it's mine. It's something that I've worked hard for, and not just something that an algorithm has recommended me. Okay, and first thing, because of that, we are distracted. Because we have choices, we are distracted. We are not focused. Okay, when someone tells me that they are not able to focus, that they are not able to pay attention, that they are not, they are struggling with their attention span or anything, I tell them to read. Why? Because reading requires you to sit in one place, to just focus on that one particular thing. And a story has the power to get all your attention, get all your brain cells on it. Okay, especially thrillers. If it's a well written thriller, it will grip you like anything. So I
Yep.
used to do this whenever I felt that I'm not able to read much. I'm not able to get back to my reading. When there were times when I couldn't read longer for longer hours, I used to pick up Agatha Christie के novel, जो भी pending में थे वो वाले, and I'd start reading. So I can finish one a day. Agatha Christie, I can finish one book a day, and that used to give me the thrust to start other books. Okay, so I used to manipulate my mind this way. But yeah, reading helps you focus. Reading helps you calm down. Reading helps you increase the duration of your attention span. Reading helps you to be empathetic. Reading helps you to pay attention to details. Reading helps you to write. Reading helps you to feel a lot. Reading helps you to
And the list
express a
goes
lot.
on and on.
And the list goes on and on. And the list goes on and on. So
So, Mitali, as far as reading is concerned, do you have any specific window just for reading, or you're like randomly, as your mind wishes for reading, like you just pick up a book or Kindle and start reading, or any
yeah, so
prescribed time?
mostly it used to be like that, but my favorite time would be before bed, and there was a time period when I had cultivated this habit of not having my devices about me, like switching. I don't keep internet on throughout the day. Okay, there are times when my internet is off, and I don't have notifications to distract me because I don't like the sound of it, So um, at least an hour, half an hour to an hour before going to bed, I would start reading, be it a physical book or on Kindle. And I used to think that that helps me think in my sleep or dream in my sleep. I don't know if it's true or not, but yeah, there was a time when I had developed this habit of reading before bed. But mostly that's because I've seen my dad, even before. Whenever I used to read, it was mostly during the night time. And I remember seeing my dad reading thriller novels before he went to sleep, or listening to Rafi ke gaane on the that tape cassette tape we used to have
Good old
before.
days.
Good old days. Yeah, yeah. So that might be subconsciously the reason that bedtime is the time when stories happen.
Mitali, since you're already a psychologist, other than psychology books, do you have any other genres that is in your bookmarks, or it's like from in the
So many, so many. I like reading. So psychology is, of course, an interesting part, but rather than direct psychology books, I like reading applied psychology books. Like I mentioned, the one Freakonomics, Super Freakonomics. These are economics books related in which they have done a lot of studies on how people behave, how people take decisions, and the overall effect on the economy and the decisions that are made on the administration level. Okay, so this is one example. I'll there are books that I've recently started into biographies and autobiographies. There is one Richmond. Oh my God, Richard Feynman. Surely you're
Oh,
joking. Surely you're joking, Feynman. So that's the one.
Feynman. Richard
Yes, yes,
Feynman happens to be
Feynman. Yes, yes.
yeah, he's
A
American
magician.
Nobel Prize winning
Yes,
physicist.
physicist. Yes, yes. So there is a book of compilation of the anecdotes of his
Yep.
life, of his 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 sarcasm, his
Oh my
what
God,
do you
I
call
happen
it?
to be a biggest fan of Richard Feynman.
You should read that book. Surely you're joking, Mr. Finman.
Yep, Mr.
And
Feynman.
sorry, I keep pronouncing the name incorrectly.
No, 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 no problem, no problem.
So
He happens to be one of the best teachers the world has ever seen. Uh, if you have time, just go through Bill Gates' website. Bill Gates has written an article, an whole article on him. The
hmm.
article, the title of the article goes something like "The best teacher I never had."
Oh, wow.
So Richard Feynman is of that grade.
Yes, yes, yes. My brother, my cousin has his lectures actually, old lectures. I
Oh,
guess probably MIT lectures, and I still
yes.
have
So
them
he
on my hard
has
disk.
like three sequence of lectures. It's like the Feynman lectures on physics, like volume one, volume two, and volume three.
Hmm,
Those are the best, like gold standard lectures, and like
hmm,
that
hmm,
made him the best teacher ever had. And he has also
hmm,
has the teaching techniques. Like there's a four step teaching technique from Feynman. Like he says, like choose your niche and try to explain it to your 5 year kid and
hmm,
find
hmm,
the
hmm,
gap and fill the gap and continue the
hmm,
loop.
hmm,
So that's
hmm.
the best way to learn anything.
Absolutely. So this is something that teaching is about. Teaching is not about showing your expertise. It's
Exactly, teaching
about
is an art.
making other people probably become an expert, or at least understand. So there are teachers who this thing that you said, that you have to explain it to a you should be able to explain it to even a 5 year old. It has to be that
Exactly.
simple. It has to be that simple. Okay. Because not everyone knows the things that you know. Not everyone would have read what you have read.
So
So
even this Einstein, he had a great saying that if you cannot explain it to a 6 year old, that you don't understand it yourself.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So so that's the art of teaching. So and
That's
teaching
the
is
art of
not
teaching.
everybody's cup of tea.
It's not. It's not.
So Mitali, I remember reading one of your articles saying like uh, how to read, if I'm not wrong, and that dates back to 2018. So, do
Hmm.
you have any specific hacks or tips that has to be given to a person who want to spend a hell lot of time on reading but cannot?
So this is what I used to suggest to people. Uh, so there are readers, kid types. When someone is starting out, if they want to explore English literature, English books, I would tell them to start with Sudha Murthy's work. Okay.
Oh, I admire that lady. She is a gold standard lady.
Yes, yes. And if someone who doesn't know English well, who wants to learn English, for them as well. So two types of audience. One who is just starting to read English book, has never read before. The second would be someone who is not good at English but wants to start learning English. So to these two types of people, I would say start with Sudha Murthy's works. Why? First, It's a real life experiences. So these are stories which easier to read, very heartwarming, written in very simple language. So the first thing is very simple language. You don't have to pick up the dictionary every now and then. That makes it,
She is a jargonless person.
yeah, yeah. That
She
that
keeps it as plain as possible.
yes, yes. That makes it easier to continue. When you're starting out, continuity matters a lot. Okay. If say you're just reading one page and putting it down wouldn't help you in cultivating the habit. Okay. So when there are less jargon, when the writing is simple and lucid, you will be able to continue with the flow. Okay, continue with the reading. You'll be turning the pages. Uh, and because they don't because the people say, for example, the Gujaratis who have not learned English in their schooling, it will be easier for them to understand the basic words. Okay, this will motivate them to explore more books. Okay, and because those are stories which are short stories and not a whole novel. Okay, so you can pick from anywhere. You don't have to worry about say missing out on parts, missing out on details. This is the first thing that I tell to them, that I suggest. The second is read thrillers. Once you're done with these books, read thrillers. Thrillers will help you give the continuity. Even if you don't understand a few words, you will understand the context in which things or the words have been written. Because it's a thriller, there is a story, you'll want to keep turning the pages and reach to the end of the book to know what happens. That helps you with the focus, that helps you with the habit of sitting and reading. Once you're that, then you have free hand to explore. Try different genres, try adult fiction, try say self-help, try non-fictions, try mythology, any genre.
This book, Atomic Habits.
Hmm.
So James Clear has the greatest of the greatest saying. He says that people don't rise to the level of your goals; they fall to the level of your system. So my recommendation for people who want to read a more is that, like, stick on to reading at least 5 pages a day. It's not that
Hmm.
I want to read 50 books a
Hmm.
year.
Hmm.
It's that
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
want to read 5 pages a day. It's like
Hmm.
how
Hmm.
that's how you build your system rather than
Yes.
focusing on the goal.
So even in this, I would so rather than pages, I tell people to stick to time. Like say spend at least half an hour. Sit for half an
Exactly.
hour. It's okay if you can read only 2 pages. It's okay if you can read 30 pages. Okay. But sit for half an hour, continuous, on one book.
Makes sense. So, Mitali, since we touched upon, especially you touched upon stoicism in the early stages of our conversation. So, what do you think about the importance of solitude? Because, see, what I have experienced or what I have tried to understand from the people have this greatest misconception of being alone versus being lonely, because there is
Hmm,
a hell
hmm,
lot of difference between being alone versus being lonely.
hmm, hmm,
And
hmm,
I'm the type of person who will be at my best when I'm alone. So
hmm,
what do
hmm.
you think about the difference between being alone and being lonely? And
I've
why do you
written
think that
something.
being alone is important also?
So, first of all, at the end of the day, you're all you have. Okay.
Exactly.
Even if you're married, even if you have a partner, even if you have good parents, even if you have good friends, and you're on your own. By the end of your life, you are on your own. Okay. So, getting in touch with yourself is as much needed as getting in touch or getting to spend quality time with your best friend. Okay, it's as much needed as much important. There are so many things that we go throughout the day, like we feel throughout the day, sometimes without noticing. Like very simple example that I gave of the thing in which we are so busy on our devices that we can hardly taste our food. We don't know how the food actually tastes. We're just eating while scrolling through reels or while watching Tarak Mehta on the TV. Okay,
The worst of the habits.
so at least in the entire day, I believe that everyone, every single person should spend some time with themselves, with their thoughts. with whatever has go like whatever has happened throughout the day, whatever has happened throughout the week. That's why people say like why journaling is so many good writers, so many good writers, so many good artists had the habit of journaling, have the habit of journaling. It's because to sit in the room with their own thoughts.
But one thing what I don't understand is people don't have this basic distinction between
Being
being alone
alone
versus being
and being
lonely.
lonely.
Yeah,
Yes.
I
Yes.
remember addressing a group of people. It was around 20 odd people, and there I mentioned that I'm a person who love to be alone.
Hmm.
And post the conversation, people came up to me and they started asking questions. I mean, like, you, why you want to be alone? Are you depressed or something? So I was like,
Yeah.
so that's
So
when I
so
realized that people
yeah.
don't even have the basic understanding of being alone versus being lonely.
Yes, yes. That might be because right from the beginning we are labeled as social animals. So if you are
Exactly.
not social, there is something wrong with you. If you are an introvert, there is something wrong with you. And people would keep nudging you to why you're not speaking, why you're so silent, why you're so shy. Go and talk to someone else. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, okay. So uh, see, even if I have felt lonely, even with my closest of people, okay, I consider loneliness to be a state of mind rather than something that happens in my physical reality. And I have felt most connected even with strangers around. Okay. And I have felt connected with myself even with strangers, even when I'm alone. And at the same time, I have felt lonely with the people who are closest to me, who understand me like anything, like the back of my hand. Okay. So it's more of a state of mind. It's more of how you feel in that moment. Okay. And why it's important to, just because you are alone doesn't mean you feel bad about it. Doesn't mean that you need someone else in that space, you need something else in that space. It doesn't mean that you have to keep doing something to keep your mind distracted. You can just sit in a room, sit in a cafe alone, eat alone, and feel the pleasure of dwelling into your own existence. It's a beautiful thing.
I was reading the other day that said meaningful silence is better than a meaningless words.
Yes,
So that is more important in life.
it is. And people don't know how to share
So
silence.
exactly.
People don't know how to share silence. And the most romantic, the most beautiful moments that I've had haven't involved words. They've
True
just
that.
involved
Absolutely.
they've just involved the presence of another person, of some people who are close to my heart in the same room. That's it.
So, Mitali, we are towards the end of the conversation. So,
Okay.
before closing this, I just want to ask you one question. So, what do you think is the meaning of life from your shoes?
Oh my god.
I know that that can be the possible difficult question ever, but I just want to hear it from you, maybe from your point of view.
Yeah. So I used to be an ambitious person, a super ambitious person when I was in school. So till the age of 19, I've been, I want to be, I want to be a rock star. I want to top everything and everywhere I go. I was an introvert or I was a very shy person back then. Then tables turned, life changed. I made friends in college, my nature changed. I became a whole different person. I became a free spirit and I would do just whatever comes my way. Even now, I don't have a fixed flow of things. I don't have a fixed strategy as to I want to do this. Yes, I have a set of things in mind that I want to do, the things I want to experience. But mostly, my way of living life right now is do whatever comes your way. Okay. I've started my production house right now. Uh, I don't know how long I will be able to continue it, but I wouldn't mind even if it stops existing. Same way for therapies. So right now, only writing and whistling. These are the only two things that I feel I'm going to continue doing even when I'm 60 or 80, if I live that long. And cycling, of course. Other than that, I don't have fixed things as to ये तो होना चाहिए, ये तो होना चाहिए. But it's mostly I believe in keeping myself free. I believe in doing things as they come by. I believe in experiencing things, good, bad, ugly, as I said, even the hurt, even the suffering, even the pain, all of it. So just live. Whatever comes, just live. That's it.
Awesome, Mitali. So we are almost at the end, and I thank you so much, Mitali, for this, for
Thanks to
sparing.
you.
I know you are like busiest person, but thank you so much for sparing your time. And you have dropped much of wisdom in this conversation. So I just hope it will reach out to the people and
I
people
highly
who
doubt that.
want to learn, and people who want to learn from you, from others. At least they can take away something from this conversation. And I thanks a lot for you, Mitali, for making your time.
Thank you so much, Akyar, for doing this.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.